Well, it's sink or swim time. Right now, behind me on one of the servers, the images have been uploaded to AWS, the application server and display server. Yesterday, pulling what little hair I have out, resolving the last few bugs, and they're really frustrating bugs. I'm trying to get as bug free as possible. It goes out there, and today's drama was the images were absolutely gosh darn huge. I didn't test the OVF files first, and the one OVF file I believe was 40 gigs, and I got down 20 gigs. Thank you for all the AI modules that were in there. A certain company won't be mentioned, but yeah, that caused a lot of the bloat on there. I had to reduce some of those. Got down 20 gigs, but still a 20 gig OVF file. That's nothing to be sneezed about. And that's definitely something we have to work on in the future, is getting the size of the OVF files down. And then the other server was pretty large as well. I think it's like 8 gigs, 8 gigabytes or something, which is still eye opening. I wanted a lean approach, and I didn't really. I got so focused on development, I didn't really check how big these modules, these OVFs were. And now we have these huge OVFs sitting in AWS. It's not going to cost us that much in AWS. It's going to cost us about 50 cents per every time a user downloads it. And it's going to cost us about 50 cents or something a month to store it. So it's not a huge deal based on storage. It's just I'm thinking ahead to the user. I'm thinking downloading a 20 gig file is a pretty big deal, even with today's bandwidth. So definitely think something we look at in the future is, can we build it in situ? And the other thing is, it ships with the source code. Yeah. Well, it wasn't supposed to ship with the source code, but but after an interesting discussion with ChatGPT, who said we could ship it without the source code, guess what? The wonderful AI changed its mind, and we have to ship it with the source code to prevent the server from crashing. So now we had to write to the license agreement. Hey, don't disassemble this thing and re-engineer it, even though we're shipping it with the gosh darn source code, which is the first thing I didn't want to do in the first place. But whatever, it's out there. Hopefully, nobody reverse engineers it. I have to look at it this way as a founder. I have to look at it. Okay, if there's probably a 10% chance that a reputable company is going to try to reverse engineer this thing and get free licenses out of it. Yeah, and that's what we have to accept. We have to also accept that 90% of people are going to be paid customers, are going to pay for licenses, and they're not going to reverse engineer the gosh darn software. We all know that Windows and other operating systems that are paid for have been reverse engineered, and they've had serial number cracks and all that kind of stuff. And Microsoft is famous for having their stuff hacked in that kind of way. So I think we have to accept the fact that that's going to happen, especially when it's been kind of open source basically now. But most law abiding customers are going to pay for the product anyway. And the other thing is, if they call us, and we can easily look them up on a database and see if they're a registered customer. If they're not a registered customer and they call us for support, they're going to say, we're going to say, you're not getting support because you haven't paid for your product. Click. Simple as that. If you want to pay for your product, then you get support. So we're kind of rolling the Ubuntu attitude into it, whereas, you know what, if you want support, register and pay for your product. You should anyway register and pay for your product. Without a doubt, you have to do that as part of the license agreement. But if there are enough 10% of customers who install in prod and then don't pay for a license, then reverse engineer this and blah 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 and all that stuff, and then they get a free copy because of it. They call us because they got a problem. They're not going to get any help. So I think that's a good way to approach it. And that certainly if you're in senior leadership of a company, and you're gonna want some kind of support contract with the product, obviously. And you're gonna have the IT guys go free patrol and reverse engineer something and get a license that way. If they do, and they get a license that way, do it. It's against our license contract, would do it, but we're not going to support you. And when it blows up and you lose all your stuff, guess what? You're completely stuck. So that's the one way to look at releasing, uh, what should we call it? Licensed open source, should we? Whether we'll backtrack on an idea in the future when I have more time on my hands, I don't know. It came to a point where I had to get the MVP, the minimum viable product, out there, and my MVP deadline I set in the line in the sand was April 1st. It was supposed to be January 1st. Product wasn't ready January 1st, so I shifted it back out, shifted it to the right out, whatever I call it, to April 1st. And now it's as close to ready as it will ever be. It's still as scary as you know what. It's still as scary as the brown stuff because your baby is now going out there and it's going to do its stuff, and hopefully people are going to download it. Hopefully people are going to use it. Hopefully it's all this. Hopefully, fingers crossed. It's all on assumptions. But at the same time, I continue to build it out. I'm continue to work on it. Continue to improve it. This is MVP. It's like a beta, basically. It's the minimum viable product. The minimum things people can download. Whether anyone will download it, whether anyone will try it, whether anybody will use it, I have no clue. That's the part about founding a business. Founding a business is all about assumptions, questions. You don't know, especially in the software business, you don't know how things are going to go. If you open up a coffee shop or something or a grocery store, you probably know people are going to walk in and buy stuff once in a while. But you open up a software business, there is no guarantee that anybody is ever going to download your software. You're just making assumptions on what people will want, on what people will buy, and what people are prepared to buy for. There's no guarantees. I think with the software business, you can make it huge, obviously, and we all know the big names, the big companies who have made it huge. But there's also this big, huge chance that you can completely flunk. It's 50-50 either way, and there's so many software companies out there that failed you can't even count them, and there's so many that have a few that have succeeded, shall we say. And who knows? The only good thing is we haven't relied on any loans, we haven't relied on any venture capital, so we haven't set ourselves up for failure. I think a lot of these businesses that they do these things like they rely on venture capital, they rely on a bunch of loans, they end up with a bunch of bank directors and venture capitalists on the board of directors. That's not the way to go. That's the way to fail, because now you have other people running your company. 2 people run this company, me and my wife, period. That's the way it's going to stay for probably a very long time. We don't care about bringing in billions and millions and millions of whatever venture capital. We don't care about that. We care about running a company, running it right, running it proper, running it the correct way. That's what we care about. We don't care about this explosive growth. No. What we care about is steady growth, stable growth, growth that if things start to backtrack, if things start to unwind on us, we're going to be okay. If you look at the dot-com busts, and I've been reading about those recently, at night on my little Kindle there, never stop reading, by the way, guys. Reading about dot-com busts, a lot of these companies, they worked on the theory that they were going to use the venture capital and get started and get this website up and get the pets.com going and all the other stuff they came up with back in the day. And then later work out how they were going to make money from it, which makes no sense. You make a bunch of loans. Even venture capital kind of is a loan, basically. These guys are going to want their money back or pull their ticket eventually. So in the 2000s crash, these people relied on venture capital, they relied on bank loans. They didn't have a solid model for bringing in customers and paying back those loans or paying back the venture capital. And that's how it all went wrong. And you don't want to put yourself in that situation. Minimize the amount of money it takes to start a business and don't frivolously spend money on a bunch of crazy stuff. Simple as that. We're not doing that. We're starting lean and we're staying lean, and we can stay lean for a very long time until we gather traction. When we gather traction, then we're going to start investing in infrastructure and other things like that. But until then, just keep it as lightweight as possible. Everything in this business, I would say right now, is lightweight. That's the way it should be. Apart from the OVF files, which are another problem. But you know what? I've discovered this is number one discovery in this whole gosh darn process is that you are never going to have a day in business without running into nightmares. Every single gosh darn day, there's going to be a new problem come up which you're going to have to solve. And that is how you prove your worth. Because if you get through those problems, if you get through all those hurdles, eventually you grow. Eventually you hire people to fix those problems and you grow and the business runs itself. But in the early days, like right now, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Will I be a success? I have no darn clue. There are literally 5 minutes where I'm thinking, yeah, it's the best thing in the world. And there's another give me 5 more minutes. And I'm like, man, this is going to bomb. I don't know where I'm going to be in the year's time. These videos are going to be interesting for me as a founder, because in a year's time, I face the strategic decision in a year's time. A year's time, the taxes for the business are going to be due, the city taxes are going to be due, the renewals are going to be due for the LLC. All this stuff's going to be due in a year's time. So in a year's time, I got to sit here, probably this very same desk, and say, am I continuing this business? I'll probably replay this video, but thinking, what the heck was I thinking about back then? So these videos are probably good for me and you guys as well. So we'll see how things go for next year. Files have been uploaded. My gut is we'll have a customer in the next 3 months. We may never have a customer. I don't know. Let's see how this goes and let's see if we have to pivot.